So you probably know that this is a scientific program. It's just that for me, I didn't know that. Well, so it's not a scientific talk, but it will have some scientific elements, hopefully. Can you guys hear me? That's the first question. Or is it okay? Okay. You can try and close that, maybe that makes it better. I would prefer to call it maybe an artist talk, but you can also call it something more like a call to action. And in fact, it's structured like a play, so it's like a theater piece, and it will have acts, just like a drama, 5 acts, and all acts will come more as fragments. But I hope that they make sense in the end for you. So, but let's start with a quote. Act 1, protest. Your Facebook friend has just signed that petition. That's probably the most ridiculous thing I've heard far too often lately. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Like there's really nothing wrong, because nothing will change. And it will not change because people will not change. Like people will sign this because they don't want to change. They don't want to change because they don't care enough. Because they might be interested, and they might even see that the situation that they are signing the petition against might be problematic, but if they would be seriously interested in changing something, they would feel the urge to actually do something. And not just press a button. And by clicking a button, I mean, it's super simple and it seems as though effective, because we've learned that there are buttons that are effective. For example, the sell button, if you're a stockbroker, that's pretty effective. Or like a launch button for a nuclear weapon, that's a pretty effective button. And that's the core of the problem. If an action is simple to execute, it will always be valued as such. And it's a simple action. It's nothing important. It's nothing to really worry about. And even better, for demonstrations, especially in Germany, we have fought very long for the right to stay anonymous if we're in this, in part of this demonstration. And now for a simple thing like a dubious website that offers us to sign a petition, we give away our names and addresses, Facebook profiles, everything. So we're reversing this already. And the good thing is that there are people in this world who risk imprisonment or prosecution for things that they actually believe in. And these people have names, these people have faces, and we know these people because they, at one time, they had the backbone to stand up and actually do something and take action. And these actions, they were proven necessary by the repression that the people experienced afterwards. So there's names that I don't want to tell here, but you probably know these people from the media. Act 2, cybernetics. So this thing, it's a black box. I mean, it's literally a black box because it's a black box. And also figuratively, because nobody of us has a clue what happens in here. Like none of us, not me, not you. And I've studied computer science. So I've studied computer science in Karlsruhe at the university. I specialize in optimization and algorithmics. I have a pretty good clue, I would say, about what's happening inside of a phone, how the software works, how a computer is handling the ones and zeros, and how all these machine parts work together. I know network communication protocols and how you send data through electromagnetic fields, all these things. But I will get back to that later. So there's a guy, Stanislav Lem, a poet pretty much, and he says in his book Summa Technologiae, which I will very loosely translate because it's not existing in English, and I'm quoting: "The best way to think about the concept of a black box is the metaphor of the centipede," so a Tausendfüßler in German. It's the metaphor of the centipede being asked what, when he's moving, he's doing after he's lifted his 758 feet. And the centipede thinks about that for some time, but he cannot answer that question. And he finally dies from hunger because he doesn't dare to move anymore. And so this centipede is a black box. He moves, but he doesn't know why and how. So this book has been written in the 60s. It's been translated to German immediately. It's been written in Czech, I think, and Polish. And the first ever English edition that's been published was last year. So that kind of says something about how much people in the English space care about these problems, probably. And the proof of the existence of such a black box, to be more scientific now, it follows directly from Gödel's incompleteness theorem. and it's a mathematical theorem that states that any significantly complex system has some rules that you cannot neither verify nor falsify. They're just existing in there. So this machine actually is not really a black box, but the way how we use it as individuals and as society as a whole, the way how we refer to it, and the way that, or the actions and effects that this machine has on it, that's the actual black box. So it's the way how we embed this phone into our complex system of society. That is the black box. Act 3, counter surveillance. What I just said is not true. So this machine actually is a black box, this one here. And the guy called Edward Snowden, that I already referred to, he just released some classified NSA documents, we all know that. And he also published documents that stated that certain organizations, especially the NSA, are capable of wiretapping your phone. I mean, that's nothing new, but they even able to wiretap your phone if you're not having a phone call, even if your phone is actually turned off. And the best thing about that is that the suspect, which is you, you're taking this phone with you everywhere. So there's no need to, like the good old times where you as an intelligent agent, you actually had to break into somebody's home and wiretap stuff. That's completely over, because like your suspect's doing all the work for you. And something like releasing these classified documents, that's an actual risk. I mean, still the release of these documents showed us things that we already knew or we thought to know. But it shows that all of us are worth to be surveilled, that all of us have, like, that all of us as people, we are all a liability to the state. And actually that's the way it should be. We should be, as citizens, liabilities to the state, because we empowered the state at some time in our name to work for our best interest. So as a collective, which we are, and we are forming a so-called democratic state, demos kratos, people power. By definition, we are a liability to the state. So maybe somebody of you has already seen my video installation, which is there, like not in this room, but yeah. The screen there says CCTV 2.0, 2.0 being this social version pretty much of the CCTV. And it also says identification of people, regional surveillance of the city of Siegen, Federal Republic of Germany. And the ugly truth about that is neither is the installation actually identifying people, nor it's operated by the Federal Republic, of course, but it's an installation to raise awareness to the fact that surveillance is a problem, not only for the sake of being surveilled, but for the technological means how the surveillance is executed. So the more cameras you put up, the more raw video footage you have, and thus the more data has to be analyzed. You have to do something with the footage. And as it is uneconomical to hire thousands of people to go through all these videos of your tens of thousands of cameras that you've put up in thousands of cities, you start to write a piece of software, and this piece of software will identify people for you and then save this information, and later you delete the video, but the information about who's been detected, that's still there. That's in some database somewhere. So there's no people being involved in the process anymore, and we can even use the results of this analysis later for future meta-analysis, hopefully, and then use the information again for something else, whatever that is. And so that's the problem, when no people are involved in the process. The machines are talking basically to machines, so we're calling that an algorithm now, because that's basically what it is. About the results of machines talking about machines. So errors that are happening in these analysis, they propagate and propagate through the system until at some point maybe the very president of this country is tagged in the arcades of Siegen due to some over-ambitious algorithm that I developed in there. And maybe he's detecting not the president, but it's actually a person just from the suburbs here. So that's, you see that might become a problem at some point. So these errors, they propagate inside of black boxes so long until they can no longer be identified as being errors. So errors start to become truth. And I'm a media artist. That means art in the form of different kinds of media assets are the way I express. So my art revolves around technology and our access and interaction with technology. And the very good thing about it is it's not only me, like there's other people. And that's Act 4, resistance. So you should have expected us. That's the claim of some organization, underground organization that has the name Anonymous. So you've probably heard of that. This is a group, they're hacking agencies, companies, countries, individuals, based on their own ideas of justice. And that's what media today calls cyber terrorists. And on April 2nd of this year, so just a couple of weeks ago, Barack Obama, President of the United States, issued an executive order, and I will cite, I, Barack Obama, blah, 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 find that the increasing prevalence and severity of malicious cyber-enabled activities from or directed by persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy and economy. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with this threat, which is the highest emergency that a president can execute. So authorities have understood that in a network society, attacking the network is a serious threat to the society as it is established at that point. And the last few words are important. Not the society is under attack, but the way how society is currently established, which means how it is currently implemented. Therefore, the attacks are, in the very sense, a form of protest, and if their aim is to destroy and or recreate certain parts of the implementation, they are actually resistance. So, but what does attack mean then in the very sense, in its very terms? Hacking as a form of attack is not foremostly attempting to destroy a system, but to address, investigate, and alter the cybernetic black box. So hacking means to reuse, to remix, to reassemble existing systems. It means to repurpose them and to find new functions for it, to take functions away and to connect them to other machines. It means democratizing technology. It means to do something against technology becoming this black box in the very first place. So hacking is not attacking computer systems. Hacking is finding a trick, for example, also not to pay company taxes. It's hacking. You can see hacking as a way to get out of paying your bills, maybe. So hacking is to use the rules made by the authorities against the authorities. And it's a very political act in that sense. It's challenging the order of things, and it's challenging the existing structures of power. So it is the very essence of rebellion or resistance. Act 5, the hero dies. A recipe for a utopian society. That's good. Act 5, the hero dies. A recipe for an utopian society. Don't mess with artists because they will ridicule you. Don't mess with computer scientists because they will hack you. Don't mess with engineers because they will cause your bridges to break. Don't mess with the doctors because they will not help you. Don't mess with the general public because they will take down the government and build new societies. Thanks.